morning. In the middle of a new administration, the very vices that have plagued Imo State are still persisting. While so many say the new government is taking the right steps and doing the right things, the very vices I'm about to allude to must be sufficiently addressed for me to declare real progress. While it is not my intention to be critical of our new government, I must say with great concern that the reemergence of kidnapping and sometimes killing diminish and impede any claim of progress, and I sincerely urge our new government to leave no stones unturned in bringing this unfortunate but renewed vice to an end. The kidnapping of Dr. Kenny's Umeziri in Mbano and the subsequent assassination months ago is a clear evidence that we are becoming more and more bloodthirsty over the most mundane or trivial reasons, and the continuing ability of law enforcement or disregard for thorough investigation and apprehension leaves the impression that government is part of the carnage, or at least shares them, when they are carried out against those who speak of it unfavorably. I share the same opinion with so many Imo citizens that our democratic government resents criticism and will attempt to silence voices. The fact that this violence is almost becoming a trend in Imo State leaves an ugly stain on our image and further erodes the necessary confidence for people to either visit or return home to the state. No society thrives and succeeds given the level of fear, paranoia, and early closure of businesses daily. We have essentially become prisoners in our own homes. In some towns, people are aware of the hands behind the vices, but are afraid to disclose them because of retribution and the fact that law enforcement cannot be trusted to do their jobs. Like I've always insisted, free movement of people around any environment has positive economic and social implications, and we cannot afford to continue to lose financially or return to those years when kidnapping had become a sport, a pastime activity for the underworld. The psychological impact on our people is very destructive, and we need a strong, able leadership from Owerri. Sending out a few ill-maintained vehicles nightly to fight crimes is an antiquated approach. An overwhelming presence of law enforcement, armed, mobile, across the state is vital to our security, and our government must be prepared to make the necessary investments in both manpower and equipment. I am made to understand that much of these kidnappings are conducted by individuals very close to their victims, and this is why I have often called for a localized law enforcement effort that is very close to the people and can rapidly respond in emergencies. No town in the state should be without any armed law enforcement team, and real serious intelligence work conducted on a daily basis to proactively identify culprits. Safety is an issue most of our governments in decades have not properly invested in, and innocent men and women will continue to be the victims. This is totally unacceptable. I simply believe that we can do better as a state, and government should elevate safety concerns to find solutions. One life lost, one body maimed is enough for me to act decisively to rein in on those criminal elements that time and time again terrorize our people. We must make the choice to fight this ugly, evil specter or face the colossal erosion of law and order. We must make the choice to change our attitude. Governor Rochas must summon all resources and minds to find a comprehensive, lasting solution. Once again, Imo State citizens are avoiding returning home, and it's most unfortunate. The governor and the state congress have a responsibility to ensure safety in Imo State. They ought to work together to create a team of special operations to go after those who are importing guns into our state. Have an informant program that rewards those who provide information on vices and the presence of these guns in the state. Individuals that show clear evidence of the need for protection should be allowed to keep their guns, provided that these guns are licensed and the means of tracing them when they are used is established. It is the overwhelming presence of these guns that encourage their use. There are those in our society who have no reason to own guns, and government should quickly identify and disarm them. What we are so unfortunately seeing these days is the use of violence to silence those who are either critical of another or simply out of envy, and our government remains unconcerned. So long as they can afford their own personal protection, the rest of society is left at the mercy of God and those who victimize them. I hate to say it. I do hate to say it, but leadership is lacking, or rather lukewarm, in reacting to this flagrant disregard for human lives. A real change in our attitude towards crime is simply overdue. There are so many ways to curb this advancing menace before it totally consumes our people and alters the course of our history forever. That's if the harm has not already been done. Governor Rochas must make crime fighting his top priority across the state, not just for Owerri, but for the rural areas of the state. A safe environment, free from violence and fraud, encourages greater creativity and economic growth. Another issue lingering for a couple of years now is the issue of land. It appears that much of the towns around the state capital are at war with our state government over land. And let me say here and now that I'm completely against the plunder of anyone's land by government or the wholesome acquisition of land. Government should only acquire land when it has a genuine project to be executed, and should be willing to provide adequate and just compensation to landowners. The most recent spate of land grabbing across the state by government officials has, in my opinion, become criminal in nature and calls into question the intent of our new government. If Governor Rochas wants to leave a great legacy behind, if he intends to earn the support of the greater Owerri people, he should be, without hesitation, instruct his men and women to halt these criminal acts. Taking vast acres of land from landowners at insignificant prices or pittance under the shady name of government activities, and turning around to resell these lands at exorbitant prices, using them for personal purposes and financially gaining as individuals, is high crime. This must be stopped now if our new government is sincere about new beginnings and fighting crime. When government participates in crime, it loses the legitimacy to either complain or demand compliance of law by the rest of society. In essence, we are not making progress, and it's still the same old song played by the same band of robbers. I wonder if our new government can afford to lose faith and support of its people this early. Government need not be told that for so many, their land is their last hope for survival, and to openly rob them of it is akin to deliberate theft. This is not how one governs the people, and I'm urging the new governor to reassess his actions or the actions of his appointees, because when push comes to shove, he will be the one to be blamed, and the one whose name will be stained. Rather, he should focus his attention and energy on reducing mass unemployment in the state, which I think is at the core of these vices constantly emerging. I would like him to institute a labor statistic program to determine the true rate of unemployment in the state and find some novel ideas to deal with it. Government should be aware of every young man and female seeking employment, should be aware of the number of families that need assistance to obtain the simple basic like food and shelter. The time has come for government to adopt a solution approach to governance. If the welfare of people is still the essence of government, if government is still for the people, then government should compound the problems that face people on a daily basis and provide lasting solutions. Let us stop playing God and games with the welfare of our people. There ought to come a time when elected men and women should awaken and realize the destiny of their people can be held and remolded to give every man and woman equal playing field. Economic injustice by a few against the many is, in my opinion, the genesis of social disorder and with its attendant consequences. If we aspire for a state without crimes, we must make the necessary sacrifices to ensure equity. Our people deserve genuine and purposeful governance, a government that places their priorities above the priorities of a few. This arrogance of power and deceitfulness has gone on far too long. I'm still holding out hope that the government will eventually realize that the governor will eventually realize his role in bringing about the much needed change in the way the government officials exercise their powers and duties, and how they serve the people with great humility. Corruption at high places leaves much pain, hunger, and suspicion at low places. Politics has adverse impact on checking corruption and holding every leader accountable. I'm looking forward to a time when the governor must put politics aside, rise above partisanship, and fearlessly do what is right for the people. This is not a tall order. This is how a governor should conduct the daily affairs of the state. Undeterred by fear, unmoved by interest, and committed to the general well-being of every citizen, regardless of their lack of support or their support. An impartial leader that leads with his conscience and not with one that is easily moved by the whims and interests of those he believes he needs to either stay in power or win another election. I very much understand the governor is new to his position, but he ought to be mindful of the footprints he leaves behind. It is his duty to check on any abuse of power by anyone in the state, including the police commissioner. We hear so much about violent crimes committed across the state, but less from our leaders. Imo State has essentially become infamous, and we need our leaders to articulate these concerns and agitate for solutions. If the governor has to ask the federal government for special funds and resources to deal with these problems, it will be a welcome relief to our people. If he has instituted a unique force in the state, the better. States having their own security defense forces is an idea worth looking into, while the federal police plays an overseer role. A war on violence, fraud, and dishonesty is a war we can win and keep our society intact. We are continuously fractured by these elements, and as long as that is the case, we are evolving into the most uncertain future. It is time that we begin to define what real progress means in Imo State and follow that path until we gain success. The governor has a responsibility now to engage the people of our state daily in dialogue, seeking meaningful answers to their problems. We have wasted decades pontificating, grandstanding, and wasting resources. Our goal should be about building a modern state, a state with very low unemployment, higher lifespan, standard quality of life akin to most advanced nations, and wealth creation, an environment safe for everyone, and justice for all. I advise the governor to set up a process to determine how government can help small businesses to increase their productivity and employ more labor, how even private hospitals can improve their services and save more lives. The ultimate goal is to fight poverty by all means. If we can all agree that poverty is at the core of all these problems in the state and declare a serious war against it, we are bound to succeed in cleansing our society and creating an environment for rebuilding and modernizing. But first, we must identify what elements constitute poverty. This is my idea of governance in Imo State. Let me save further details. But I must assure our people that everything is possible. Great nations are built by just one single idea, an idea allowed to grow. The stars are daily directing us to the place of our salvation. We must not ignore the signs. Anything worth dreaming is worth realizing. Thank you, and may God bless you.